that brought me alive. But we're all like monsters, playing with the monsters. They brought me alive, but got no alibi. It's a rebel's fight without an alibi. It's up my innocence without an alibi.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Dave, your guy. Another episode, Sports for Your podcast. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday Night Football. I base my fall days off of the NFL schedule. There's a game on Monday night when I get home. Oh, it must be Monday. Worked a couple days, after the weekend. All of a sudden, football game. Oh, must be Thursday. Oh, that's really college football. It's a Saturday. You know what that means? Sunday is the NFL. So that's how I kind of base my days. So yeah, we have tomorrow is Thursday Night Football. So we're gonna preview that game. Obviously, we'll take a look at that. Not too much there. It's a little bit of a real it's gonna be a real barn burner, if you know what I mean. Um, but this is gonna be the waiver wire episode, as I told you guys last week. I know typically waivers run on Tuesday nights for Wednesday. I am in 3 to 4 leagues. I think 5 out of my 6 run Wednesday night for Thursday morning. So that's why I want to try to do this now. CBS, I know you could probably fix the settings, but I know a lot of CBS leagues could be standard. I don't run the leagues I'm in. Run for Thursday morning. So if you see anybody or me reacting, it's just the cats my wife's eating outside. So if you hear anything or some noise, the cat's in here, so they don't bother her while she's eating. Anyway, yeah, let's get into it real quick. We'll start with some waivers. The usual peeps that I want to say. Just Diet Coke. If you're cracking, it's not a beer. It's Diet Coke. Thought I broke it open before. Um, yeah, so we're gonna start with some waiver wires. I usually do top 3. Um, Capable. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Appreciate it. For anybody who hears me say thank you for follows, I am live on Twitch. This is being recorded and then uploaded to YouTube and then on Anchor for Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can get a podcast. I'm pretty much there. And you can watch some of my VODs as well on Twitch. So, real quick, we're going to get into. I typically tweet out every Wednesday my 3 top priorities for waivers based on percentages. I got the percentages from listen to other podcasts and a buddy of mine. I was actually on their podcast yesterday, Stack Attack. Give them a follow. Stack Attack Fantasy if it doesn't come up. But they do, fantasy sports as well. They've really helped me out. I've been picking their brains a lot in regards to some different things with getting mine off the ground. So they just did their waiver wire episode yesterday. I will put a link um, on on the YouTube up video and things like that, so you can see their video as well. And I'll probably throw them underneath on Twitch at some point, so you guys can stay up to date on their stuff as well. Good guys over there. It was a nice little podcast that we had going on over there yesterday for the waiver and preview for week 4. They did do a preview for week 4. So that's over there on their platforms and podcast, the Stack Attack Fantasy, if you're having some trouble looking for it. But yeah, we're gonna kind of just hop right into it. So real quick, I have some people that I want to talk about from a quarterback perspective. Taylor Heinecke is somebody who is 17% owned in CBS sports leagues. Depending on your quarterback situation, how you drafted, um, you might need a quarterback. Somebody's hurt. If you took Fitzpatrick, think he's going to have a good year, or you took somebody else and you're just not happy with him. You took Ben because he starts to throw the ball 80 times again, which he is doing, and you need somebody. Taylor Heineke's a good streaming quarterback. I think he's going to continue to get, 2 touchdowns, at least 2 touchdowns. He could run for some here or there. Their defense has not been performing, so I really think that they're going to end up um, having to play from behind a lot more. So we'll see what's going on with that. But I like Taylor Heinecke. Another one is Jimmy Garoppolo, very underrated, and probably a lot of people don't like that one. So give me one sec. I like Jimmy Garoppolo for the simple fact of I don't know how the offense would run with Trey Lance, and that's what scares me. You see Justin Fields and how it went there. It has not been a good year for rookie quarterbacks thus far. So I don't necessarily know if you want to like throw him into the fire. Aaron Rodgers waited a long time behind Brett Favre. A lot of other quarterbacks, waited a little bit. They didn't have to get thrust into the fire, but you look at some that got thrust into the fire and didn't perform well, and now where are they? I mean, obviously you have your Jamarcus Russells, but your Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, is still there. There's still talent there. Marcus Mariota, number 2 pick overall. What's going on with him? I think he's backing up in Oakland. So really kind of just goes to show you that you got to be in a good situation. Even Alex Smith, he underperformed a lot, and then Harbaugh comes in, gets him right, then he goes to the Chiefs, and Reid keeps him right, and then Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for a year before Mahomes understood it. Mahomes started week 17 of his rookie season, and then Alex Smith goes off to Washington, and well, we know what happens there. But yeah, don't can't rush these young quarterbacks, especially depending on the style that they came from. Trey Lance didn't play much in college, smaller school. Not saying he's not talented. I just don't think he's ready to take the next step. So, with that being said, I do like Jimmy G a lot. Just for the simple fact of, like I said, he has that innate ability to just give you points, go out there, make the games close. It didn't look good for him against Green Bay the other night, but he still made it interesting, made it close. He did miss some throws. Offensive line's not all there. Packers defense is really starting to come together now. So, Barry's really calling a good defense. So there's a lot of different moving parts in regards to, that aspect of it. But I just think he's the best option for San Francisco to win right now. Not saying Trey Lance is going to be good. Not saying you shouldn't hold on to Trey Lance in case he gets hurt. Or if you're in a dynasty league, obviously get Trey Lance. But I'm very, very high on Jimmy Garoppolo. Just for the simple fact of he's a I mean, it wasn't too long ago they were in playoff Super Bowl. Like he's talented. Like there's a reason Belichick wanted to hold on to him. And then what happened there. So just think about it for a second. If you need a quarterback, streaming quarterback, if it could be matchup dependent, but if you need a bye week quarterback, you only drafted one, or whatever the case may be, just look at Jimmy G. And then next I have Jacoby Brissette. So Jacoby Brissette's interesting. Excuse me. Another Patriots quarterback there when Garoppolo was there. Very immobile. He's going to stay in the pocket. You know where he's going to be compared to these younger quarterbacks who can move and have mobility. But watching the game for the Dolphins, the offense looked better with Jacoby Brissette at quarterback. And I think as he gets more and works off the rust and gets back into the swing of the NFL season, and a starter, you're going to see more out of him, more production wise. I mean, he threw the ball a lot. He made the game a lot closer than it probably should have been. He plays hard. He has a strong arm, and they have a quick receiver in Waddle. The offense just flowed better. I don't think Tua is a very good quarterback in the NFL. I just don't think he's adapting well. It could be a system. Again, you see these quarterbacks not thrive until they get into the right system. Because now apparently Jared Goff has a terrible team, but he's been playing decent. I don't know. I still would have played better for Sean McVay. I think he's better coach than Dan Campbell, but what are you gonna do? Anyway, that is neither again here nor there. So those are my quarterbacks. I talked about Daniel Jones last week. These are, guys that I just saw that I liked on waiver wire that played well, put up some decent fantasy points last week. and I think you can pick up as well if you want to listen to the week 3 podcast or look at any week 3 older tweets. I do have the week 3 waiver wire. You can find that, listen to it, and see what other quarterbacks to pick up there. I do tweet out from time to time. Well, I tweet out a lot, but that's it for quarterbacks. We'll go to running backs. Let me just grab a drink. Okay, so I absolutely think Chuba Hubbard, I'm Chumbawamba. Oh my goodness gracious, Chuba Hubbard, um, is a must own. Um, a must own. Oh, and for the quarterbacks, you don't have to spend much of your fab if you it's a free agent auction bidding. They're not. I don't think many people are going to be in a rush to pick those guys up. A couple bucks will be fine. Anything more than 10, I think you're going crazy. Um, Hubbard, you throw everything out there, especially if you own CMC because it's a hamstring. These things can linger. He's also utilized a lot in that offense, and it increases the chances of him being hurt and injured again. So I think you throw everything at Hubbard. I know it's only I have him up here, he's 77% owned. I look for numbers lower, but he should be 100% owned. I don't know why he's not. This happened on Thursday last week. Like so, you. I mean, technically, he probably should have already been picked up, depending on how the waivers work. Excuse me. Um, but go out there, pick him up, 100% rostered, because CMC could get hurt again. And if Hubbard shows up, maybe they could be like, "Oh, you don't have to do all the work, CMC. We can, throw Hubbard in there, whatever the case may be." And if you don't own Hubbard and somebody else, or you don't own McCaffrey, but somebody else does, you picking up Hubbard, you can then trade him for another piece to your team and work something out that way because he's probably going to likely overspend on the trade because he's going to want the handcuff to McCaffrey, so he's still in a power of position, or she. Second is Malcolm Brown. I was in a draft and I took Miles Sanders, and my partner wanted to take Miles Gaskin. He is a Dolphins fan. I'm a Giants fan. Miles Sanders always burned the Giants. I think Miles Sanders is just more talented, and the team around him is better. They've both been playing like straight trash, hot garbage. Not hot garbage, but I think Sanders could have had a better game if they ran the ball more because I think he had 2 carries for like 27 yards or something like that. But Brown had the touchdown. They've been using Brown more in, all situations. He's been looking better. Is Gaskins more talented? Yes, but it appears as if the Dolphins have a favorite. So I think just picking him up if you can afford to drop somebody, if you've been holding on to somebody, like if you have a Robbie Anderson, or whatever the case may be, and you want to get rid of him because you've been starting him and he hasn't done anything, this is something you could look at. Or even if you have Gaskin and you want to just look at Brown, whatever the case is, or if you decide to go no RBs, 0 RBs in your draft, that's somebody you should take a look at. Because I think as this season goes on, he's built a little bit bigger. He might be able to withstand more of the hits as the season progresses. And for the number one, well, really Hubbard should be number one, but Peyton Barber. Right before I went on and started the episode, I got a tweet about asking me who they should start: Peyton Barber, Rojo, or Mack, who they should pick up. And I said Peyton Barber. I don't trust any sort of Buccaneers running back except for Giovanni Bernard. I talked about that in the Stack Attack podcast with them yesterday. And Marlon Mack is going to be traded, but we don't know to what team. If it's San Francisco, that could be very interesting. Maybe even Baltimore if Tyson Williams doesn't look good. There's just a lot of different teams. Even, the Chiefs, as silly as that may sound, CEH should have a good game, but don't, forget about them. Whew. The Jets, even maybe, they have Michael Carter. They like Michael Carter, but sometimes you want a veteran presence to kind of show the kids what to do. So, he could really land anywhere, but that's the only reason I don't like Matt, because he could have value if he's in a good situation, or if somebody gets hurt and they decide to throw the kitchen sink to Indianapolis to get him. That could very well benefit both the Colts in the long run for their team and also a Marlon Mack owner. He could be cheap now if you can afford to stash him for a while. If you have a practice squad spot, I recommend picking him up for that simple fact. If he goes in a good situation or starting running back gets down, he can perform. He's shown you he can have games before when given the opportunity. Um, so I do like that. Um, who else do we have? That's all for running backs. So for receivers, sorry for my sniffles. Um, there's a couple different people here. AJ Green's going to stick out because he had a really massive game, and nice to see AJ Green come out after like past 2.5, 3 years of hiding. It seems like he can still play. He's been consistent for the first couple of weeks. I think he had 13 points in week 2, not too much in week 1, but with the Hopkins injury and them running a little bit smaller on the receiver side, with Kirk being a smaller guy and Rondell Moore being a smaller guy, AJ Green gives you that red zone presence as well as does DeAndre Hopkins, obviously. But if Hopkins is going to be, have this injury going on, this lingering injury for a while, um, then you don't want to necessarily screw yourself. You know what I mean? So I think you should look at AJ Green for sure. I don't know if he's going to be a start every week, just for the simple fact of they have too many people out there, way too many people out there. You don't know who's going to get the ball in any given week. I did talk about Christian Kirk on the Stack Attack podcast yesterday, and I also talked about Christian Kirk last week as well. If he would have scored on the touchdown from Kyler Murray in week 2, where it was an all-out blitz and Murray has to fade back and just throw off his back foot, if he's able to step into it or have an extra quarter of a second to throw it, Kirk scores, and then he has 4 touchdowns in 3 games, and it's like Rondell who? Um, you know, so that's something to keep an eye out. He's been a very consistent receiver for them. He plays that slottish type role. He's quick enough as well to get behind the defense. So, keep if you can get Christian Kirk. He's only he's probably in more leagues now, but for them, I like both Christian Kirk and AJ Green, especially if this Hopkins injury is going to be lingering for a while, and they're going to throw the ball a ton unless they get really close to the red zone and they can give it to Connor or Murray. They're going to just chuck it around the yard. Like Brady, like Carr, like Mahomes, like Herbert. They're just going to fling it. So the other one is Terrace. I thought it was Terrence, but it's Terrace, according to CBS, unless they spelled it wrong. Terrace Marshall. Okay. So I like Terrace Marshall. I'm a little biased because I have Robbie Anderson, and I've been hoping Robbie Anderson could actually do something for once. But yeah, that just didn't happen. At all, unfortunately. Don't know why, but it just didn't happen. It is what it is. Not 100% sure why. But Terrace Marshall, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. They're playing the Cowboys. Trevon Diggs has showed you he can be a shutdown corner. He has 3 interceptions in 3 games. It's a matchup nightmare, and I'm not saying Sam Darnold can't do it, but Sam Darnold is not going to press his luck. I don't think Moore is going to end up having the types of games he's been having. I don't see it happening. So Marshall can have a big game, and Robbie Anderson could have his breakout game this week. I think my buddy and I are starting him, so let's hope he does. But Marshall's a good stash. He's going to have 3 targets. Tremble's another. I think I'm going to talk about Tommy Tremble in a little bit because they traded Dan Arnold to Jacksonville for cornerback because they lost J.C. Horn. That's another thing. They did trade for cornerback. However, they might be needing to throw the ball a little bit more. Playing the Cowboys next week with no J.C. Horn, who's been a top corner since he was drafted. So, Terrace Marshall, if you haven't, pick him up now because if he has a good game, he's going to cost you a fortune in Fab. Next is Hunter Renfro. I have the Raiders, like I said earlier about the Cardinals and everybody else. They're going to fling the ball around the yard. It's going to happen. Yes, they have Waller, and yes, Waller got 19 targets in week 1, but that has gone down dramatically on that scale. You just can't. It wasn't going to happen. I don't know why they were just forcing it to him 19 times. I'm not really sure. But Hunter Renfro, he fits a role of the mold of Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola. Uh, who else? Wes Welker is another one. He's going to go in. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to move the chains. He's going to get you. He's going to get at least 8 to 9 targets a game, probably, especially on third downs. Get the ball, move the chain, get 8 yards, 9 yards, 7 yards, 6 yards, and maybe run for 10. The slot guys do have red zone potential as well because they are shifty and very good route runners. Typically tend to be good route runners, so they can typically kind of get open a little bit more towards the red zone stuff in the red zone because their cuts are just that much crisper. So he's somebody to consider because he can get those touchdowns, and he can get deeper plays. Carr did hit him on one play that was for a couple yards. He slid and whatever. So he has the potential to get a couple extra yards in the actual air yards, but they are going to be shorter, passes. But in PPR, his full point PPR, pick him up. He's worth it. Definitely. You're going to end up probably starting him because I just think that depending on the wide receiver situation for other teams, I just think he's going to end up being a start. They do have Bryan Edwards. They do obviously have Ruggs and Waller. I think Edwards is going to be more situational. Ruggs is going to take the top off, and Waller's going to be there, everything else. So as the field's getting stretched, the middle of the field is being, attacked by Waller, and the field's being stretched by Ruggs. The middle of the field is going to be open for, yes, Waller, but a lot of Renfro. And like I said, especially if they need 4 yards, he's going to be the guy. He's going to go run the 5-yard route. He's going to run the 6-yard route if it's 3rd and 5. He's just a guy. He's the guy who's going to do the dirty work, and he's going to be rewarded for it. Not in the touchdowns all that much, but definitely in the receptions category. So just, keep an eye on him and pick him up if you can. If you have a Robbie Anderson and you're looking to drop somebody, I think you can drop Robbie for Hunter. It's probably the week Robbie's going to go off. Like I said, I have him. So just consider that, like I said, as well. Other than that, if Rondale Moore is still available, keep an eye on him. He could be a late play later. If he has another bad week, people might be willing to drop him for somebody else that gets hot. It's what you do. It's what some people do. Me being a Giants fan as well, I think you should take a look at Colin Johnson. Spoke about him yesterday as well. Colin Johnson's 6'6". He's very tall, very skinny, very slim. Showed he could play. He was with the Jacksonville Jaguars earlier in the year, and they cut him, or they may have traded him. Reminds me of Ramses Barden and any hardcore Giants fans out there. Hardcore Giants fans remember how he lost the game to us or for us against the Eagles a couple years back with a, I think it was a holding or something. I don't even remember. I think it was a holding. It may have been the offensive pass interference. But yeah, that burns. Hurts right here. But yeah, he's tall. He's going to help with the red zone. Probably just going to hurt Galladay more. I don't trust Evan Ingram with my life. But as a flyer, if it's a deeper league, the offensive line for the Giants is terrible. Take a look at Kadarius Toney. I know the Giants said he was going to be expanding his role and running more routes, getting more involved, and he had 3 targets for 2 catches. So I don't know how much I really trust that, let's say. But it reminds me of when Odell Beckham had very good fantasy numbers for the Giants because he was the only person that could get open. I'm not saying Kadarius is going to be able to get open, but he's quick. He's a speedster. He's shifty. That Sterling Shepard role as well with no Shepard and another week of practice with actually running with the ones because you didn't know Shepard and Slayton were going to get hurt leading in the last week. So just keep an eye on that. I'm not a big CJ Board fan. He had a really nice catch, but I think the 2 people to target are Johnson and Toney if you're desperate or it's deeper 16, 18 team leagues because I think they have higher upside. More so Toney than Johnson, but I think Toney's going to be that shifty guy where Jones is going to have to get the ball out quick. He'll either dump it to Saquon or dump it to Toney, or you can see split back sets with Toney and Saquon. Don't be surprised if you see that to try to give him options and give the defense more people to cover and slow down the pass rush. Because with Toney out there, if he has a linebacker on him, goodbye. Excuse me. So that is wide receivers. For tight ends, if anybody from the Stack Attack podcast is listening to this, I'm putting my head down. If you're watching it, you can see my head being put down. But if you're listening, my head's being put down. I have Tyler Conklin, Minnesota, Don't know why. Not saying KJ Osborne isn't worth it or couldn't be it. Maybe he was just flash in the pan. I think Conklin, Kirk Cousins loves tight ends. He really liked Jordan Reed. He liked Vernon Davis when he was like, he likes being able to have that comfort, So either, yeah, you had like Kyle Rudolph and things like that, and Giants have him now, and you could still see Rudolph was doing certain things, but if you if you're a tight end and you build your trust with Conklin, um, you know, he builds his trust with Conklin. I think you're going to see Conklin's numbers go up. It's not going to affect too much of Justin Jefferson. I think it may affect a little bit more of Thielen, but not too much. Yes, it also could have been dependent on Madison, but Madison still had like 26 carries last week. Just, he showed you he could be a top running back if given the opportunity, especially in that system. He knows the system, he knows the offense, he knows the blocking schemes, the whole thing. And also look for Conklin if Cook's out. Haven't heard anything about him practicing or not practicing, but again, they won the game. And if they could show that they can continue to win, they're playing, I believe it might be Cleveland. I'm not 100% sure. Let me take a look, actually. It is Cleveland. They might try to save Cook for down the road with it being a longer season. And even though it's just by an extra game, you never know. So don't be surprised if you get another game out of Madison. Actually, the schedule up on this page. I didn't realize. But yes, I think Conklin is worth it. Again, all of these guys are really super deep, especially for tight ends. You're not spending a crazy amount of fab on them. But Conklin, look at them. If you need a tight end or streaming tight ends, or you drafted Kyle Pitts and you're not sure, or you drafted, these other tight ends that aren't doing much, he's worth a shot. I would take a look at him. I'm I'm picking him up and a couple of these other guys up if I can in my leagues if he's available. We also have Dalton Schultz, the Cowboys. Now, Darius Slay's a very good cornerback. You know he's a very good cornerback. You can tell because whoever he was covering, I don't think the ball got thrown at him. CD didn't have the greatest game. Cooper, nothing. It was a Schultz game and the Zeke game. Very game flow, game script dependent. I like Schultz, and if Dak is building his trust in him, then I think it's a good thing. They have Blake Jarwin, but I think Schultz is just by far and away just going to be the more consistent tight end. To me, it's just worth it. Go out there, spend a couple extra bucks to get him if you really don't need a tight end. He's not going to put up what he put up this past week on Monday. Don't expect him to do that every week. I don't think he's Travis Kelce-esque yet. Can he get there with Dak and in this offense? He can put up very good numbers if they're not trying to force it to the receivers. If Dak plays how Dak's been playing and looks and rolls out, and as he's on the bootleg, he sees the tight end there, it's going to happen. He's going to get his, and showed you he's a red zone, and he fights for yards. He falls forward. You want people that fall forward in fantasy. They're going to, those are the people you want because that's what coaches like to see. Little tidbit there. Fall forward. They're not falling back. They're not, whatever. They're going for the extra yard while still securing the football. And then deep sleeper, because of the trade and he had a touchdown, but I don't know who's going to be starting, and they have Ian Thomas too, is Tommy Tremble. I like Tremble a lot. I think he could probably do something with Darnold. The Jets have had some tight ends in the past. Try to get him involved. You always, but I think, again, no CMC or the risk of, showing you can throw it to other people other than CMC, I think is going to be good. And Dallas Goedert, I'm going to go on my soapbox real quick. Jalen Hurts did not miss that throw against the Cowboys. I looked at it live. It went through Goddard's hands, and every single person said he missed the throw. Like, what? Seriously. He missed the throw? My bad. I thought when the ball goes through your hands, it's a good throw. You're so quick to throw something on the quarterback. You can't just be doing stuff like that. Goddard dropped it. He missed it right through his hands. It went right through his hands. At least the camera angle that they showed on TV during the Monday Night Football game. I didn't think that was fair. My bias because I have Jalen Hurts in the league a little bit, but it went through Goddard's hands. Anyway, the Eagles used Goddard a lot, and Ertz scored a touchdown. So I expect the Panthers to see that and attack the same way. So I think Tremble, especially this week, could probably be in for a good game. Either one of them can. Ian or Tremble can have good games. I like Tremble because they gave it to him on a tight end sweep. Let's be real. Who does that? The Panthers, because they have Sam Darnold. There's no Adam Gase. So, anyway. Next, let's go to DSTs, defense and special teams. If you're new to fantasy or not sure what DSTs are, it's an acronym for defense and special teams. And what it means is you draft them and you draft the entire defense. There are IDP leagues or individual defensive players where you pick the player on defense, and depending on how they do in the game, you get points for that. These are teams, and then you also get their special teams. So years ago, you would pick the Bears defense and special teams because they had somebody by the name of Devin Hester. Probably one of the greatest and if not best return men in NFL history. Yes, you had the human joystick and Dante Hall. Yes, you had all these other people that were very good, Deion Sanders, all these different things. But Devin Hester changed the game. It's like when you were walking Barry Bonds to not risk him hitting a home run. Like you just kick the ball out of bounds, and it was just better to take. Like if it was a kickoff, you tried to not kick it to him because at that time sometimes you'd have two people there, and then he would just always return it. You try to kick it out of the end zone. The man, the man was incredible. Okay, so you would pick these certain things first because you get 6 points if the special team scores a touchdown, or if the defense gets sacks, interceptions, pick sixes, fumbles, all that kind of stuff. Just a regular fumble, but no touchdown, you get points. Interception, but no touchdown, you get points for anything the defense does well. Some leagues started 0 and you work your way up. Other leagues started a point value and you either go higher or go lower based on how many yards and points are scored against them. So for defense and special teams, I have a couple here as well. I have the Titans defense, well, because they play the Jets. Now, their defense is also atrocious, but it's the Jets. If you listen to the Stack Attack podcast I was on yesterday, I said it would be Zach Wilson's coming out game, and had a hot take of Zach's probably going to throw for close to 300, if not 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm more confident about the 3 touchdowns than I am the yardage because it really just depends if they have good defense, maybe get some turnovers, whatever the case may be. Good special teams play, the field shorter, less yards, but he can still get the touchdowns. So, and it's a revenge game for Corey Davis. So, just you're picking up the Titans defense for the simple fact that you just don't know because it's the Jets and Zach Wilson could be seeing ghosts like Sam did. But I'm hesitant about it because I think that this would probably be the coming out game for Sam Darnold. Zach Wilson. I also like the Colts defense this week. Why do I like the Colts defense this week? They play the Dolphins. And yes, the offense, like I said, with Brissette for the Dolphins runs better as Brissette is out there. But it's still Jacoby Brissette, somebody who does not play on a regular basis and doesn't move. You can get sacks from him. He might try to force a throw and you get an interception, but you're going to probably, for the most part, get sacks. And I just think the Colts have a good defense. I think they're a little bit underrated. But it's the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle is probably the only person I'm really worried about. Mike Gesicki as well. But Jalen Waddle is probably the person on the screen to take to the house or get behind you. Brissette hits him. But I still like the Colts to just beat Brissette. I mean, he started for the Colts, a couple years back. They could know his tendencies, whatever the case may be. So just keep an eye on that. Like I said, I like the Colts this week. And for DSTs, you're not really spending an arm and a leg on them because they're just DSTs. And then I have the Lions as another DST to look at because, well, did you see the Browns play the Bears? See that game? Okay. I hope you saw that game because everybody else saw that game and the net of 1 passing yard that the Justin Field, we want him to start over Andy Dalton had. Was it a bad game plan for him? Probably. Offensive line is terrible. You just had 5 people blocking. You had no 2 tight end sets, no max protect, no design run plays. You just said best of luck. Got sacked 9 times. The game plan might be different based on the criticisms that Matt Nagy's been getting from all the media per se, but I still don't necessarily trust it. This is coming from a guy who said in the preseason, being Justin Fields, the game was slower than he anticipated. My guy, it's the preseason. The Ravens are undefeated in the preseason for the past 6 years. Dude, it's the preseason. Of course it's going to be slow. It's basically college defenses and people like myself trying to make a team. What? I get it. You didn't go to Ohio State for an education, but come on, bro. Common sense. You don't have to be taught common sense, dude. Because now you're just oh, all these NFL teams and defensive players are going to be licking their chops oh, the game's not that fast, huh? Dude, Myles Garrett looked like he glitched on the field when he played them last week. Look at the clip. Myles Garrett glitch a field. Bears. You'll find it. The guy, it was a blink. You blink and you miss where he went. And you don't think the game's that fast? Okay, dude. All right. Play the Lions defense. They've been competitive in other games, and they even contained the Ravens for a little while. So their 4th and 19 defense is not so good, but everything else I think is okay. And then lastly, on the bids on the waiver wire for kickers, I usually don't normally do kickers. However, listening to Carlson from the Raiders say that he lost to himself, it made me want to kind of do kickers because it's fun. Kickers can win you games, can win you championships, depending on the league play. Sorry for the sniffles. Sometimes 5 points for 50-yard field goals. Kickers are super strong now. Tucker hitting a 66-yarder, should have been a 71-yarder, whatever the case may be. I get it. All right, I do. But these are some of my kickers. There are 3 of them. Tristan Vincenzo. Why do I not? Oh my gosh. Mason Crosby's another one from obviously the Packers. He had a good game. I'm drawing a blank on these kickers with these teams. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. I told myself, remember the kickers. I had it written down, and now I don't know where they went. Oh my God. Is one of them the Chargers? I think one of them was the Chargers. It is the Chargers. Okay. Tristan Viscayn is from the Chargers, and they're going to put up points against Vegas. If they get stopped, he'll kick it in. He'll be fine. And then the other one is Chase McLaughlin from Cleveland. Baker doesn't throw the ball much. He's a game manager. He can toot all his horn all he wants about how good he is in all of his commercials. He couldn't be any more of a game manager, though. Let's be real, dude. They have 2 phenomenal running backs in Chubb and Hunt. Bro, you ain't special, dude. You ain't that special. If you were on any other team, you probably would have fallen flat on your face by now. We saw how it went with Freddie Kitchens and stuff. Come on, guy. Let's be real. So with that though, I think the Browns will probably put up some good field goals, especially running the ball, things like that. And I still don't really trust Baker. They have tight ends, they have Odell, but those are my kickers. Chargers are going to throw a lot of points up on the board. Browns, I think, are just going to be able to kick a lot of field goals. They'll get points too, but I think they'll probably be kicking the ball a ton. And then Mason Crosby had a very good game last week, and the Packers are back. If they don't get in, they're going to kick it. That's what they do. Aaron Rodgers is almost guaranteed to get them into the red zone or in Mason Crosby's range every time he drives down the field. So you gotta own Mason. He's 44% owned. Clearly, people like him. The other 2, Vizcaino and McLaughlin, are under 10% owned. Some people tend to stream kickers. If you stream kickers, I would definitely go for Vizcaino. And for McLaughlin, you can also look at McPherson from Cincinnati because they play Jacksonville on Thursday. So that's short, that quick turnaround time. Sometimes you're not really scoring all the touchdowns. You're going to need to kick some field goals. And Cincinnati's keeping, a lot of Burrow's attempts to under 20. So they might not, if I don't think you're going to force the issue all the time. So sorry for the sniffles, man. I really do apologize. I heard myself yesterday on the replay of their podcast, and I didn't realize my sniffs were that loud. But yeah, so with that being said, that's my waivers. Those are, a couple guys, three from each position that I like, and everything's dependent. I understand that every league is different. Your league could have people already taken. It could be deeper benches, could have practice squad spots, IR spots. So they're able to hold players a little bit longer. But these are just players that I saw that I liked based on matchups, based on how they've been playing for the first couple weeks of the season, and people that I think you should go and pick up if you want to win your league. Because that's all we do, baby. Let's win. Even not me having a bad year in fantasy, but it underperformers. One of my leagues, quick story. It's a dynasty league with old friends. I have 560 points against. Teams I've been playing in the first 3 weeks combined have scored 560 points against me in 3 leagues. I have the most points against in the league by far. I play against the top performer, the other top performer in week 3, and the number 2 top performer in week 2. Come on. Like the 1 week Saquon does something, even if I have Marquise Brown, he should have caught those touchdown passes. He doesn't catch those touchdown passes. I still lose by like 60. What am I supposed to do? How's that work? How's that fair? What's going on here? It makes no sense to me. Whatever. I'm hoping it's a dynasty league. I'm definitely not looking to win this year, but I like to be competitive. I have a friendly wager for a couple bucks that my team will be better than somebody else's. He's 2-1. I'm 0-3. But my strength of schedule has got to be fucking el numero uno. Sorry for cursing. Has to be el numero uno. Has to be. No way around it. And if they're watching or listening, you know exactly which league I'm talking about. 560 points against. I swear it's got to be 560. Let's take a look right now. It could be 506. I could be dyslexic, but let's take a look. Let's take a look. Let's see. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay. League. And if you're wondering, on the podcast, I'm taking a look to verify, but if you're watching the podcast, you can see this with me. 561. 561. 561 points against. Basically, 560 points, 0.96. The next closest points against is almost 100 less than me at 478. Just saying. 561 points against me. I'm 0-3, and my team's actually been doing one of the more consistent teams. Like, what? Out of here, man. People are 2-1, and like, it's 478 points. It's the closest, I think. Yeah. 560. Jesus. That's ridiculous. Anyway, preview for week 4. Tomorrow night's game. If you like football, you're going to watch it. Because you're like me. You're just going to watch it. The spread, according to CBS, is 7.5 points. The Bengals are favored by 7.5. They're giving 7.5. The over/under is 46 points. You're only starting James Robinson. You're only starting Marvin Jones on Jacksonville. That is it. If you have James Robinson, clearly you have James Robinson. You drafted him high. You're starting him. It would look promising last week. Marvin Jones. If I said Harrison, I don't know why. Marvin Jones, starting him. Trevor Lawrence is. Marvin Jones is just going to be misreliable. He's going to be pressured. The line is bad. Chark's a speedster. Laviska Shenault can just not do anything right now. Talented coming out of college. Hurt last year. Nothing this year. Bye. Marvin Jones and James Robinson. Those are the people you're starting. That's it for them. And after the Bengals, so far from what I've seen, T. Higgins has not practiced yet. It is a quick turnaround time. He did not play last week, but it's not the standard, 7 days. It's like 5, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3-4 days. So I don't see him playing. You have Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and Burrow and Mixon. You're starting Mixon. I think he's going to run a lot. Running backs tend to have better games on Thursday nights because of the quick turnaround time. The defensive line, just beat up long game. Not saying the running backs aren't beat up, but those hog mollies in the trenches, you get a little beat up. So Joe Mixon's going to have a good game. Burrow, I like other people over Burrow if you can start other quarterbacks because he's just not throwing the ball a ton. And Jacksonville probably could win because Burrow's still, young quarterback. They have a bad offensive line. I'm not saying they can't win, but it wouldn't surprise me if they win. And then Jamar Chase. You're going to start Jamar Chase, but don't expect him to continually keep up the pace he's been going. His touchdown rate is astronomical right now. So Mixon, iffy about Boyd. If you're in deeper leagues or 3-receiver leagues, start Boyd because he's still going to get his because it's really just those two if Higgins doesn't play. But Chase, Mixon, and Burrow, like I said, I mean, if you have Baker, you could probably start Burrow over Baker. Burrow, Sam Darnold, I would say keep Sam Darnold. Burrow over Goff. Burrow over Wentz. I would go Burrow over Wentz. Burrow over Brissette, obviously. I would even go as far to say, obviously, Burrow over Matt Ryan, who's been playing terribly. And if you're looking for a little bit of a shot in the dark, you try Burrow over Tannehill because I think it's going to be a Derrick Henry game for Tennessee. So if if you start Ryan Tannehill, don't be disappointed. I'm warning you now. Even Burrow over Jimmy G, you could do for sure, because he can get you a touchdowns as they get closer to the red zone. He's a talented kid. They just want to protect his leg. So, yeah, no, that's going to be it, really. Anybody who came by, I appreciate it. Thank you. Um, Also, going to be updating a couple different things spreadsheet wise for bets. I was betting, did have my picks against a buddy of mine who beat me by one game. He took the Cowboys. I took the Eagles. The Eagles didn't, the Cowboys definitely covered. It was 4-point spread. So I lost that. He won 10-5. I lost 9-6. What else? Looking for different segments. So to introduce, I want to try to do a couple different things. I'm playing around with some names of different segments. I'm gonna throw it out there now in case anybody else takes it. And you never know. I'm an overnight success sensation. Cap or no cap in regards to players coming off of great games. Cap, we believe it to be true. They can continue to do this. No cap being like, look, flash in the pan. I don't trust it. Don't do it. Kind of want to do things like that. Even with waiver wire people, or your roster people, cop or drop. Do you want to, pick them up or are you going to drop them? So certain things like that, I'm looking to try to implement and just do a couple different things so you can kind of see who you want to have over certain people. And if we think myself or whoever I'm going to be hosting with feels that those players are going to be able to keep it up in cap, no cap, or pick them up or drop them in cop, no cop or drop. So I definitely appreciate it. This will be up to, if you're watching live, the podcast will be up tonight. I did not hit record on my platform that I use to go live and live stream. So I have to wait for it to download to then get it all uploaded and stuff. But guys, I appreciate it. Be ready for my show on Friday or Saturday. I want to say I'm going to try to do it on Friday if I can. This way you guys have the weekend to try to figure out some stuff. Hope you guys found this all useful. Go out there, put your waiver claims in if they pop off tonight. Good luck. And don't forget, listen to Sports Euphoria and let's win.